Reading in bed. Reading in bed.
Hi guys and girls, welcome to
Reading in Bed.
Yeah, now this is episode 33, and people are wondering tonight, as we had such good fun being apart last month, wasn't it? Literally apart.
Yeah, we've split up permanently now.
I know.
For the podcast.
For the podcast, yeah. Now, what we're doing is, like, if people seriously didn't catch last month's episode, is we actually we did the episodes in separate rooms where we did it on Zoom, because I've been doing a lot of other podcast work on Zoom, and the quality has been really good on it. So instead of doing it on my phone or on Skype or sat next to each other, we're trying out. And this is, aren't we again, Amanda? So
yeah.
Now, before we start, of course, we have news, don't we?
Oh, we have lots and lots of news.
Ladies first.
Firstly, my charity book is officially out on the 14th, although you might be able to get hold of the paperback at the moment, but the official launch is on the 14th.
And what are we doing?
And it's to this. We're doing a Zoom launch, and all the profits from the book is going to go to different cancer charities in the UK.
Yeah. Now, tell people a bit about the Zoom launch. We should go next Monday evening, aren't we? Monday the 14th, is it?
Yeah, that's right, between 7:30 and 8:30. If you go to the Facebook printed words page, we're going to post a code on there a day or two before, or people can contact me through there if they want the code before, like if they're not going to be online that close to the date.
Yeah, now, with it being on Zoom, we're actually going to be also, as we do the literature night, we co-run with Steve, Speak Easy, it will be on Zoom, but it also will get broadcast live on my Facebook wall, Andy N. Poet, and then that will be done as a live feed, and then it'll be cropping up on other mediums afterward, and on YouTube as well, Amanda, won't it?
Yeah.
Now, how many people have we got reading, Amanda, next Monday?
I think there's about 9 or 10, including me, but I'll just be introducing the book.
Yeah.
And possibly standing in if somebody else can't make it at the last minute.
Yeah, it's going to be a good launch, guys. So, I said, you have done as well, Amanda, for Reading in Bed something special, haven't you?
Yeah, we've done the extracts. So instead of reading an extract of somebody else's book, I read out 2 poems and the beginning of a short story that are featured in the book.
Now, haven't you done a video special as well?
Yeah, we've got a video special on YouTube that I've shared everywhere. So it's, if you're last year have done the rock, you've seen it somewhere. It's been shared on printed words and Facebook, and I think you've shared it, and all sorts of people have shared it.
On the moon, and Mars, and
yeah, the Martians have seen it. Yeah,
the Martians are coming, definitely. So they're coming after seeing that one. So definitely. Now, of course, seriously, we've got all that away. Now there is other news as well, Amanda, isn't there?
Yeah, I've been going on a number of podcasts, so you'll notice me popping up on different podcasts in the next few weeks. And one, well, it's a radio show, this one, is Hannah Kate's launch, not quite live poetry.
Yeah, now that's Jen. Now, she used to do them over the years, didn't she, last couple of years, live in the studio. And she used to get about 12 poets in, didn't she? So, and used to bring two in the studio at once. And it's ironic, actually, and when the next show's on, obviously me and Amanda are recording for her. We've done our sessions already, and she's put us 2 on last, and I think this is the 3rd time with the trot she's done this, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sure she's done it with us 2 for it. We've been headliners, poor people. But it's been a good laugh. It's really good. It's a really good way, and we're getting to know lots of new people, writers you don't know and stuff. So, and we'll be tuning in on the Saturday the 19th, definitely, just to see who else she's got on. Because there's a few people on there, so I believe that we don't necessarily know, and that's always good fun. So. Right, Amanda, any more news?
Yeah, I was also on a little video station called BBC Video Manchester.
Yeah,
and my poem was broadcast.
Yeah, you can find that.
So I think I think you can listen again. I think it's on there for another 27 days at the time of filming this. So get in there quick or it'll be gone.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Into a black hole.
Never to be seen again. Now, seriously, I've also just gone and bought out. I've I've gone and bought another book out as well called Games People Play as well. Well, that was only like a mini book, and I did it that way because my case was I've certainly been off on lockdown for the last couple of months. I've had a chance to go back to the archives and go back through work I've been looking at for some cases 10, 15 years. I felt deserved into reading the book, so I bought them out of that, and it's kind of a companion piece to my first book, Return to Cape Town, where a lot of the works from the same time when that book came out. So it gives it like a sideways view of what I could have done next after Return to Cape Town with no more comedy stuff, instead of going on to the end of summer when I did more serious stuff. So that's out on Amazon at the moment as well. Now, have you got anything else we need to mention, Amanda?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it. Oh, there's the awards in the. I don't think I mentioned it last time because I didn't know.
Go on.
Yeah, I've reached the top 10 finalists in the thriller category of the Author Elite Awards. And if you find us on social media, you can find a link and vote for me. Although some people can't find it, but other people can. Well, let's not get into that.
It's been a bit of a strange one, that, so we'll just do no comment and move on, right? So now, with reading in bed today, this is what we would. I don't know if we've been serious or not. We're kind of calling this a holiday special because there's quite a few people gone on holiday at the moment, and we've had a busy month, Amanda, really, haven't we? Reading, so because we've done total here. We've got 2 solo books each, and two books we've read together. I'm right with that. I think we are, aren't we? Yeah. Well, one of them. Yeah, that's right. One of the books I'm going to do solo, you've read parts of it as well, so it's just a bit. It's been a busy month, so right. Well, should we get onto our first book then, Amanda?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I do as well. Now, the first book we're going to do, and I can't. How do you pronounce this writer's name? Is it Brianna Labuskes or Brusques? Right.
Brianna Labuskes. I don't know. We're both completely wrong, but whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The book's called Her Final Words. Now, Amanda, how did we get hold of this book?
I was previously on Amazon Prime, and you're still on it, and you get Prime reads every month, so you get to choose from 6 or 8 books, depending on how many they are each month.
Yeah.
And we both chose this because we thought it sounded the best out of the lot of them.
Whether it was the best out of a bad bunch, we're going to reveal now. Now, do you want me to do the blurb, Amanda, or would you like to do the blurb in this case?
I can do the blurb if you like.
Go for it.
Right. It seems like an open and shut case for FBI Special Agent Lucy Fawn when Eliza Cook walks into the field office. The teenage girl confesses to murdering a young boy. Disturbingly composed, she reveals chilling details only the killer could know. Beyond that, Eliza doesn't say another word, leaving a vital question met with dead silence. Why did she do it? To find the answer, Lucy goes to the scene of the crime, in the small Idaho town of Knox Hollow. But Lucy's questions are only mounting, especially when she's drawn deeper into the life of the victim. Then a combing of the woods yields unsettling evidence that Eliza isn't the only one in this close-knit rural community with secrets. Getting the truth is becoming Lucy's obsession, and it's a dangerous one, because for the good folks of Knox Hollow, hiding that truth will take more than silence.
Right. Okay, there's plenty we can say about this book, isn't there? So,
yeah.
Now, we're going to start off first of all with the strengths, as we always do. I've got a point I want to start off with the strengths this one, Amanda, if you don't mind, okay? Yeah. I thought the prologue featuring Molly Thomas, I thought was pretty gripping to start with, when you discovered she was trapped and been captured in what she originally thought was a coffin. But as she stood at the end of the chapter, thankfully it wasn't a coffin, but it built up the tension really well, didn't it, in that first chapter, or the prologue. What did you think of that? And then we skipped forward. Yeah, that's
the only good thing, I think.
We'll come on to that in a minute. I think I'm going to be a bit more constructive in you, or is it destructive, right? So now,
destructive, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Now, then obviously we moved on to, which is a good idea for the setup. We moved into meeting Lucy Fawn, stood behind the mirror in a police station with a girl she'd come to see on the other side of it. Because they saw a young teenage girl works into the Seattle FBI office at 3 a.m. and asked for Agent Lucy Fawn. And nobody knew. It's quite obvious nobody knew what had happened. And then she tells Lucy she'd killed a 12-year-old boy, Noah Dawson, Knox Landing in Idaho. And she described where she found the body in a murder weapon. And then the pains tell Lucy there's a Bible verse carved into his chest. And then she doesn't say another word. You think, really, that's a great setup, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds good in theory.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And then, like, you get the setup's brilliant, this book. It really is. Because obviously, like, Lucy goes to the town, doesn't she, to actually look into it. And she realises there's nothing simple about this town. And then it's going into like the full town in a massive part of the devout religious sect. And then, like, trying to get information out of people is very, very hard work. So, what do you think to that point then? Anything else you can say about the strokes?
No, not really. I think the way you've just described it there, you could have given that outline to somebody and they could have come up with a fantastic book and completely different from what we actually got.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, I said is that I'd give the strength to the book there because the idea was spot on and we had a really, really good prologue. And the prologue was really good. Then the setup was really good for the first chapter or two, but it went. Should we go on to the weaknesses?
Yeah, well, I think it was the first chapter or possibly the prologue where it got off to a bad start for me. Because when I was studying creative writing, we learned about like repetitiveness and like how it can help and sometimes when it's bad to use it. And if it's got no meaning and it's just repeated for the sake of it, then it's not really good. And twice she says, oh, why did she have to tell the pretty inspector? And it just didn't seem relevant, just like repeating it twice and just what relevance was it that she's pretty rather than just an inspector? It's like that didn't really add anything to it, just describing it as pretty.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the book was like that because my fault with the book was, and it's what I found it scary really when we were reading the book because we went through it afterwards and we found out two different people had probably edited the book with the writer. And we both struggled with large chunks of the sentence structure straight away. And the dialogue was ropey, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, I think that could be a problem if you've got two editors. Because it's like if you've I don't know how they split the work between them, but if you've not read the whole book, you're not going to be able to edit it and think, well, actually, that doesn't fit with that if you've not seen it and someone else has edited a different part.
Yeah, that's what it makes you wonder with this book, really. Because there was clearly problems with it. Like it was I found, for example, when you had the characters, a lot of the characters were completely undercooked in places. And also as well, it was you had the case where all the various time zones, didn't you, man, all the character viewpoints. Yeah,
it was too much. I think they just needed to settle on one or two characters.
Yeah, that's what they overdid it in that completely. Like it was I was massively disappointed with the character of Hicks, Sheriff Hicks in it. And I thought myself, because we didn't understand who he was as a person. And like she went to go and do the final confrontation and she realised Hicks wasn't obviously what she thought was a villain. And he turned around and says to her, you've got no help, you've got me. And I thought to myself, we didn't even understand how he ticked as a character. And he was quite a vital character in the book and I felt that was a huge flaw to understand what that was.
It's like the characters just seemed to blend into each other and they could all be clones of the same person and nobody really stood out as far as I was concerned.
No, it's the same for me, it's completely with it. It was like, I found as well, I also had a problem with it as well. The author constructed a plot, we read the outline out, with everybody having the ability to easily lie to cover the tracks. And it was all just blending into one. And I thought to myself, to do that with a detective book, you've got to be able to give clues away and readers got to be able to pick up who the villains are. And there was nothing like this book at all on that. It felt like a patchwork of 3 or 4 people's ideas, which it probably was. I reckon it was the editing. We're going to do this one.
Yeah.
With them operating on two different editors, it made you wonder whether certain editors were doing that at certain time zones and they wanted to do a different one. And it just didn't have the consistency.
No.
And that's why. So, but like, do you remember Live and Mother Band when I read that 4321 by Paul Auster?
Yeah.
That had 4 different time zones on it. When I worked it out what he was doing after 2 or 3 chapters, it was pretty plain sailing for the rest of the book. So I think his editors were obviously worked really more stringently in it. This I felt was quite amateurishly done. I was really disappointed in this book. I was so. That's what.
I think you need to be able to care about the characters as well, and I just didn't care. It's like if you just locked them in the room together and give them all a weapon, I wouldn't have minded if they just all killed each other.
Yeah, I didn't mind the main character too much, but the rest of them, like you're right, there's nothing in it. And I thought to pull that sort of book off with such a large cast, you've got to be a very, very, very good writer. You've got to be able to care about 10, 15 characters. And that's hard work. You know about yourself in writing novels, don't you? I think half the point of the book is you've got to be able to remember the backing characters as much as the actual main characters. And I came away afterwards, I could just remember Hicks and I remember Lucy Fawn to a degree, but the rest of them, nothing.
Yeah.
Now, weren't you critical on the way some of the sentences was constructed in this book as well, weren't you?
Just the repetitiveness. And it wasn't like in a way, so I don't think it was supposed to be intentional to try and make information sink in, which is the way you should use that. It was just, it wasn't anything important. It was just repeated just because the author or the editors didn't realise and didn't correct it or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I got. I found it. I don't know. There's something really lacking in this book, and I'm really surprised at it. I was surprised it got published. Truth told me, really, really surprised in that because, anyway, that's just me saying that one. So, right, Amanda, is there anything else you want to say about this book?
No.
No, same for me. So, we're on to markings now. Would you like me to go first?
Yeah.
What do you reckon I'm going to give it?
I think you might be more generous than me today.
What mark do you reckon I'm going to give it then?
I think you're going to give it about 4 or 5.
Incorrect.
Go on then.
3.
Snap.
Now, let's get really see. The benchmark for reading in bed, when we did a recommendation, they've been above 7.
Yeah.
That's not a 7 between us at 10. That's
no.
7
it's only
each.
6 between us.
Yeah. It doesn't even come close to a recommendation in between us and our marks. It was a dreadful book. It really, really was. And I don't like saying that. I will never be as disconstructed to a book as I have with that. That was probably one of the worst books I've read in ages. That was.
Yeah, I have to agree.
That's why. So, right. Well, should we hope, Amanda, we can pick up on a positive note for the second book?
Yeah, let's hope so.
Right, what hint do you want to give people next on the second half?
It's a long, long, long book.
You meant to get a hint about my book, not yours.
Well, I don't know about your book.
Ow!
My next book is a long book. Your next book is, God, it could be anything.
Ow! That's fine, right?
It's a werewolves in London.
Not quite. Right, guys and girls, hang around. We should be back shortly, shan't we, Amanda?
Yeah, just after this full moon passes by.
Ow! Right, I'll see you all in a minute, okay? Stay safe, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Reading in bed. Reading in bed.
Ready for the werewolves.
Ow!
Oh!
Hi, guys. Welcome to
Werewolves in Manchester.
In Bed.
Reading in bed.
Werewolves in Bed, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the next spin-off.
Let's get to a podcast app. Now, would you believe it, Amanda? Seriously, it's episode 33 now, actually.
I know. Gone
Yeah.
on a long time.
We have.
Some people might wish that we hadn't.
I know. I am Andy N.
And I am Amanda Steele.
Right, okay. Now, my first solo book this month is, and this is where it's a bit confusing, this book. I've been doing hints in the back end of the first half. It's about werewolves. So what would you think, Amanda, if I told you werewolves?
I'd think werewolves.
Yeah, well,
That's
this is not quite what it seems. The first book I'm going to do is by a guy called Charles Whiting. And this one came from my dad actually very recently. It's called Werewolf, the Nazi Resistant Movement, 1944 to 1945.
Okay.
Do you want to hear about the blurb?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not what you think this book at all. So, the blurb is, in the closing days of World War II, German resistance to the Nazis was growing. This is the dramatic true story of one act of rebellion. The Werewolves were formed in November 1944, having been recruited and trained by SS Police General Gutenberg. A team of 5 men and 1 woman were chosen for Operation Carnival, which was a plot to kill Franz Oppenhoff, the new mayor of Aachen, who the Germans saw as an American stool pigeon and traitor. And the book is described as a werewolf skillfully recreates the atmosphere of unease that prevailed on both sides in the final months of the Second World War. Werewolf outdoes the best spy novel and demonstrates yet again fiction cannot hold a candle to fact when coming from the pen of a master of Charles Whiting's statue.
Okay.
Okay,
So do you want to start with the good points?
Yeah, this was a bit of a strange book, this one actually. But it was obviously I said before in the blurb, it was about 6 operatives that were dropped behind our Allied lines toward the end of the war and walked into the first German city captured by the Americans and executed the German actor as mayor who was collaborating with the Americans. So, and after the war, the operatives were captured and put on trial by German authorities after the Allies declined to prosecute. So I said it was a bit of a, you understand a bit of a strange one really, this one. So that's why. So do you want to know a bit more about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Now, and obviously out of the 6 of them, the shooter died when they were walking back to German occupied Germany. They stepped in the mine. One of them changed his name and vanished from history. One was too young to be placed on trial, and the other 3, including the 1 female operative, were all given short prison sentences that were reduced on appeal. So it's really odd because you think with that really, you think it's quite a minor story in the middle of a big world war, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a strange. What genre would that be classed as?
Well, it's fact by the look of things, so it's non-fiction.
Yeah.
Non-fiction, but it was an odd one because the book itself certainly appeared well researched and read like a novel in places. So that's what's a bit odd, really, because like it felt more. It was advertised as non-fiction, but it felt like it was, you know what I mean, fiction in place, not rather than fact. So the female operative was the most candid in sharing her story and how the op happened, and this is reflected in the story, which is mostly from her point of view. So it was interesting. It was interesting, certainly. So it wasn't a story that I'd heard of, certainly. That's why. So, and it was only just over 200 pages. So you get me? Like, it wasn't a massive like book that's going to take you months and months to read, basically. So.
Yeah, so how long did it take you to read? Was it fairly quick or was it difficult to get through?
No, it was fairly easy to read, actually. Fairly easy. About a week. Like when we read that was when the week I was in work. So, and what I was doing was, everybody's wondering, because I've had my job at the day job at the moment, I'm working from home 1 week and then in the office the other. And the week I read this, it was after I finished work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at home. So I was popping out to the cricket ground at the back of us, so it was deserted, reading there. But it's fairly straightforward to read, actually. It was a slender book, that's for sure of it. So I don't know. Do you want to know any weaknesses?
Yeah, let's have the weaknesses.
Yeah, well, it was a book, like I said, just over 200 pages. It was weird because it felt somewhat stretched out even by that stage. Because the material was relatively thin. So I made you wonder whether the author or the researcher had very limited information. And it seemed to be like the alternative storylines created later in the book, almost like they were stretching the material out to give it a novel. But I felt like the varying impact, the varying storylines, it cheapened the impact of the book, I felt somewhat.
Yeah, so is there anything else you want to say before you give it a rating?
Yeah. I do recommend the book for history lovers, certainly. But it's limited appeal with others because I think you've got to know a lot about history of the Second World War to get the full picture of it. A lot of the background knowledge that they didn't necessarily cover in the book. So I think its appeal is limited for that reason. But I enjoyed it.
They've just written it and assumed that you already know all that then.
Yeah, I felt they did in places, and I was having to sit around the net and double check things as I went along because there was things coming up I wasn't aware of, so I possibly wasn't the right market for it. But no, I didn't hate it. Many stretch of it.
Okay, so what's the score for the book?
What do you reckon I'm going to give it?
I think you're going to recommend it. It might just be barely recommended though.
It's a 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it. It's quite a straightforward book it was, so it wasn't the best book I've read. It certainly wasn't the worst book I've read this month. So that's all I'm going to say. Right, guys and girls, that's me done. Should we take a quick break, Amanda?
Yeah.
Hang around, everybody. See you in a minute.
Bye.
Bye.
Reading and bet. Reading and bet.
Hi guys, over to part 3, reading and bet. Amanda, why are you stood up at the moment?
I'm taking a stand.
A stand in what?
I don't know, I just know that I can't stand it anymore. God, this is bad, isn't it?
Not this one. Man, this stretchable, but my gags are your gags, that's atrocious. Now, that is a very bad clue of what we're going to be reading, or correction, Amanda's going to be reviewing now, because I've read this book she's reviewing. It was about 30 years ago, and it took me months to read this book as well. It did. So what is the book, Amanda?
It's called The Stand, and it's by a little-known author called Stephen King, that you might have heard of.
Yeah.
And I read the audio version of this, so I didn't really read it. It was read to me.
Yeah, now, how long did the audio book go on for?
47 hours and 47 minutes.
Good God, that's a lot. So I'm guessing
almost 2 days non-stop.
Yeah, I'm guessing then straight away because that's obviously the uncut version you've read then, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's 2 versions. The original cut version, I think, was about 600 or 700 pages, and the uncut version, well, it's over 1,200. That's for sure. So, is that the longest audio book you've ever listened to?
Yeah, definitely.
Must be, isn't
I can't even think of anyone that'd be longer than that.
I know. Anyone last month? Remember, I did it. I did the Paul Auster book, 4321, and that was 900 pages. I did well to get through that. We respect you. You really went for the jugular in this one. So.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that's an audio book and how long it is.
I'll have a look offline if people know next month. Right, Amanda. We better get onto the blurb, haven't we?
Right, okay. Right, first came the days of the plague, then came the dreams, dark dreams that warned of the coming of the dark man. The apostate of death is worn down boot heels, trampling the night roads. The warlord of the carnal house and prince of evil. His time is at hand, his empire grows in the west and the apocalypse looms. For hundreds of thousands of fans who read The Stand in its original version and wanted more, this new edition is Stephen King's gift, and those who are listening to The Stand for the first time will discover a triumphant and eerily plausible work of the imagination that takes on the issues that will determine our survival.
Yeah, you've got the long one, haven't you? Then definitely with that, Amanda. So that's for sure. So, how long did you say this book went on for? 48 hours, wasn't it?
Just short of 48 hours, yeah.
Yeah, I've just had a quick check online when you were reading the blurb. The Paul Auster one is 37 hours long.
So that gives Stephen King is winning.
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 So seriously, that'll give you everybody a clue then, basically the length of the book itself. That's why it's on. It's a heck of a go if you want to do this. So, right, yeah. Do you want to go into the strengths about the book then?
Yeah, so firstly, the narration is provided by somebody called Grover Gardner, and he did a really good job of reading it and bringing all the characters to life. And as you know, Stephen King has a habit of creating quite a lot of characters in his book. So this Grover Gardner managed to bring them all to life and make them all sound separate from each other. So they're not just all merging into one. So they did have distinct voices, so you could tell who was talking, even if it wasn't said at the time.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So good stuff. No, that's fine. So I said, what else did you like about the book?
I think I've been putting off reading it, obviously, for the length. I started reading it because of the comparisons to the super flu in the book and obviously the coronavirus now. And even though I did see some comparisons, this is definitely not like that. And I think this is more serious in the books because obviously there's less population because most of them are being killed off.
Yeah, it was I'm right in thinking whoever the villain was called, the villain was Man in Black or something. Or am I getting mixed up?
I think you're thinking of
it's Flag.
the book.
The Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Randall Flagg.
People refer to him in this as the Dark Man, but I think they refer to him as a few other things as well. So.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking about. I know for a fact when this book came out, I remember when I read it, it was a long time for you actually met the main villain itself, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you should mention Dark Tower because it did remind me of the guy in that a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Like it kind of based him a little bit on that kind of character.
I think at the time, if I remember correctly, when I read about this book, was King himself said that I think that started because it took him years to write this book. You think really, we're writing a 1,200-page book. It's not something any writer could knock out in a couple of months. It took him years to do this book, probably. I know the original version again. What was it, in the mid-80s, was it?
Yeah, I think it stood the test of time in a way, though. Because it's about a super flu, which is relevant today, even though obviously COVID isn't the flu, but it's a serious thing. But it also has like a sort of supernatural element to it. Because the prophetic dreams, that's obviously supernatural. It's like that's not normal in the real world.
Yeah, of course, straight away. Now, they hinted at before there was a large cast in this book, wasn't there? Yeah. Let's compare it then to the first book we did today. Then, how did you look at the large cast? Because obviously, it wasn't all told with one viewpoint, was it? Well, I remember there's numerous viewpoints in this book, wasn't there?
Yeah, because there's two camps. Everyone's really split into two camps. There's the people that follow the Dark Men, and then there's the people that follow Mother Abigail. So it's sort of light versus dark in a way.
Yeah, I remember it being that way. And did you think by the time you got to the end of the book, had you felt like you lived the life of quite a lot of people in this book? And you knew a lot of the motives and stuff?
But I don't know what the uncut version is like, but the cut version just ends suddenly. And it's not the first time I've read a Stephen King book that just ends like that. But I've said anything, I'm just going to end it here like this and not really tie everything up.
I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've read the Stands. I think you've actually read the uncut version of the Soundings from the blurb you read out. So that's why. It's 48 hours, I think, and Paul Auster's book is 900 pages. And it's 37 hours. It's 1,200-1,300 pages straight away. So.
But to say I just sat through just under 48 hours of audio, the way it ended was a bit abrupt. And it's like, if you're going to make a book that long, it's like, you need the proper ending after all that.
Yeah, completely. Now, is there anything you touch on the strengths before we go on to weaknesses?
Just the usual fact that Stephen King's not afraid to kill off characters, so it's like if you see children and animals in the book, it's like that doesn't mean they're going to be there at the end and nobody's safe. Anybody could die at any minute.
Cannon fodder, basically, is yeah, completely.
It's like you could have a character who you love halfway through, who goes all the way to halfway through the book, and then bang, they're gone.
How about you? Now, weaknesses.
Okay, so I think obviously the uncut version works in a way, or he wouldn't have been able to have an uncut version. So adding all the stuff he had to cut out of it just felt a bit self-indulgent in parts.
Yeah, that was the criticism. I've definitely read features on this before now, and I read one with the original editor on it. I turned around and told me reputedly that he'd been too self-indulgent, and they cut it back without his permission. That's why, and that's why, because at the stage he was out of his writing, he couldn't complain. But obviously, after it went really massive,
yeah,
that's why he said.
And it's like, I'm going to do what I want now, and you can't stop me because I'm Stephen King.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I suppose you can though. I suppose after all the books is brought out and the money is made for various publishers and everyone else involved, I suppose you can do that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I thought that myself. So now, is there anything else you need to talk about this book?
I don't think there's anything else, no.
Okay, well, I suppose you better mark it for everybody.
Okay, so it's a good book, even though it's not my favourite Stephen King book, but I'm giving it 8 out of 10.
And that, of course, is a recommendation. Yeah, I can't mark it. It's been over 30 years since I read it, but I do remember it because of the length, right? That's why more than anything else.
Yeah.
That's why you don't forget. When you read a book like that, you don't forget it in a hurry, that's for sure. So, right, guys and girls, that's the end of part 3. We're going to do something a bit shorter next time, Amanda, now, aren't we?
I don't know. Is it your turn next?
My turn next. I'm doing some short stories next. So, like I said, it's a bit shorter.
Yeah.
Right. Well, hang around then. We'll see you in 2 minutes. Say bye, Amanda.
Bye.
Reading in bed. Reading in bed.
Welcome back to Reading in Bed with me, Amanda Steele, and
Ian. Now we're up to part 4 now, Amanda, aren't we already? So we're skipping through these today. Now, This is, as I said before, a short story collection. And this one came off, some group on Facebook, I forgot which one it was now. And the younger writer in question sent me the book over. So the writer in question is a British writer called Joshua G Insole, who lives in the Austrian Alps. And he's an active member of several online writing communities. And his preferred writing storytelling genres are horror and science fiction. And he's won the READC contest twice. Do you know what that is, man? The READC writing competition?
No, I've not heard of that, but there's a lot of contests out there.
Yeah, so I don't know. So, do you want the blurb?
Yeah.
Book's called The Chance of Rain, and is described as over 40 tales of monsters, magic, mystery, and madness, ranging from the horrifying real to the fantastical weird, from the soul-wrenching heartbreaking to the gut-bursting hilarious, including 3 shortlisted works. So make yourself a cup of coffee and a pot of tea. Turn off the lights. Make sure your front door is locked. Did you remember to lock it? Maybe you did, and maybe you did best check. Wrap your hands around your steaming cup and wrap your blanket around your shoulders and spend a while in the twisted corners of the human mind. And always keep an eye on the shifting shadows. Sometimes terrible things lurk in the darkness.
Oh, I'm scared now. I better go lock the door.
Now, I said to you, there's a lot in this book. I think it was over 300 pages. Again, there was over 40 short stories, all like mostly microfiction, etc. Now, we've been a short story book, if possible, to review it on that sort of basis. And what I've done, I've made a couple of notes on the first 7 or so stories. I think that gives you a good indication whether the book's going to be for you or not. Would you like me to go through these, Amanda?
Yeah.
The first story is called Heart is Not Orange. And this was the one you did for Reading Bed Extract, Amanda, wasn't it?
Yeah, I read the first few pages, and this is going to go live about a week after this podcast goes live.
Yeah, I thought that one was going to live now. This one gets off to a really good start, actually, because you get the first couple of lines, which, you want me to read out the first 2 lines?
Yeah.
Martin Wilson never returned to his student exchange program abroad. This is mostly due to the fact he didn't escape the vampire.
I love that line.
That is just so direct. It's to the point, that is.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny, that one, straight away. And the ending is very gory. It was also very funny.
And it's not mostly due to the fact. It's completely due to the fact.
Yeah, there was a slight exaggeration, right? So he didn't get out of the way of the vampire at all there completely, that one. So, but it was pretty funny. That story was. It was one of those ones where it give you a good chuckle at the end of it, to be honest. Now, the language in this book is mostly more into the teen fiction market. But we'll talk about them as we go along. Right, to piece number 2. A long, narrow box. This one, I say, is just as humorous as the first one, really. But it's going for the tales. Do you ever see tales you unexpected growing up?
Yeah.
And it's got a twist right at the end of it, much more surprising than the first one is. And it's set up on Marvin needing help, and the shopping didn't seem to be the place to get it, or the library actually. But he seemed reading a self-help book with a deadly twist in the last paragraph, which again made me chuckle in a much more worried way. That's all I'm going to say, right? So,
yeah.
Okay, do you want me to carry on?
Yeah.
Right. This third story is called A New Breed. And this is a story of Steve Newburn, who goes to a farm. He's obviously going there to buy a horse and gets more in a bargain for the buying of some horses. And that one's actually terrible. That one's really quite frightening, that one is, okay?
Yeah.
Number four? Number four is a story As It Ends. And this is a much more serious story about Sally, who is sailing at the edge of the coast when a nuclear explosion goes on, killing millions. This one did lose me, I must admit, to a good bit. So I found it a bit of an odd ending, really. So, and then he then goes on, because like I said, you've seen now 2 comedy ones and a very serious piece. The next one goes back in, I think it looks like it's the Middle Ages, called A Village Under the Purple Moon. And this one features Mariana, who seems to be a witch getting banished from town, and a battle against good versus evil, which I won't give anything else further away. But this was an interesting one, this, because I felt this was a curious tale. I felt could have been teased out to almost a novella piece. So I found myself wanting to know much more in that one. And it was only about 10 pages, so you know what I mean? Sometimes you think it's got legs, don't you?
Yeah, I think sometimes short stories and putting them in a book like that can be a good way of finding out what people like, though. And like later on, you might actually decide to go back and adapt that and make it longer.
Yeah. Now, the next one, I've got a lot down. The next was called Blind Visitors, and that was a piece about aliens. So I must have best of my notes in that one. But the 7th story was called By the Side of the Road. And this is about a couple called Steve and Jeanette, who after a row end up biting off more than they can chew when they encounter something on the side of the road. That is deadly.
Oh.
Now, so do you see now, Amanda, looking at this? It's a very, very wide-ranging book, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. I generally did enjoy it. You know, I felt a bit uneven in places, possibly because I think it lacked that singular voice. Because I think with it being over 300 pages, I felt it was probably a bit much, to be honest. And perhaps he should have split it into 2 books. Okay. Merged the more science fiction ones and the more horror ones together. It showed the variation as a writer. But you tell me, as a publisher, if you've been a publisher, would you have wanted such a wide-ranging book?
It depends, really. Sometimes you don't want them too much the same, do you?
Yeah, but sometimes it's where I thought in this case it was too varied. That's why. Yeah. And it was over 40. There was over 40 stories, about 42, 43 stories in it, not in book to hand. And I felt we've been over 300 pages. It was a bit much. And it's a book, while recommended, it's best you dip in and out on, really. I found it possible, really, to read 4 or 5 stories after the one after the other. It's one where I'd read one, take a break, read back to a novel, and come back to it today after and carry on that way.
Yeah. That's the good thing about short stories, so you could just pick them up and read one, and then you don't have to just sit there and keep reading because it's not the same story anymore, so it's just easy to pick up.
Yeah, no, great. No, I said, it was a good book. You enjoyed it, but I thought the structure of the story was generally pretty good, and I liked the mischievous humour that was in a lot of the book as well. So I felt as a book it stood up really well. It was just a fact of what they should have split into 2 books. It was probably a bit much, but hey ho. Right.
Yeah.
What do you reckon I'm going to market?
I think it's going to be a recommendation. I think at least 8.
I'm going to give it 8. I'm going to give it 8, okay? Because I generally did enjoy it, like I said to you, so that one. So, right, guys and girls, that's the end of part 4. Skipping through these, Amanda, right?
Yes, skip. Bye.
Now, don't listen to the back. You might hear some echo in the background. You're showing a different room. See you in a minute. Bye.
Bye.
Reading in bed. Reading in bed.
Welcome back to Reading in Bed, episode 33, with
Amanda Steele.
and Andy N. Straight over to Amanda now, because this is how organised I am today. This book is definitely not what Amanda is, and it's called something like Keeping a Quiet Amanda, isn't it? We can't do that with you,
It's
can
called... No, I'm so loud and you're so quiet and innocent.
I am, I'm quiet and shy. People don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
So this is called Keep Her Quiet by Emma Curtis, and shall I read the blurb?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Right. Jenny has just given birth to the baby she's always wanted. She's never been happy. Her husband, Leo, knows this baby girl can't be his. He's never felt so betrayed. The same night, a vulnerable young woman, Hannah, wakes to find a newborn lifeless beside her. She's crazed with grief. When chance throws Hannah into Leo's path, they make a plan that will have shattering consequences for all of them. Years later, a 16-year-old girl reads an article in the newspaper and embarks on a journey to uncover the truth about herself. But what she learns will put everything she has known and her own life in grave danger, because some people will go to desperate lengths to protect the secrets their lives are built on.
Right, okay then. Where did you get this book from?
This was another one from Pigeonhole.
Oh, now, anybody doesn't know what Pigeonhole is, Amanda. Do you want to elaborate?
It's a book service where writers can contact them and pay to get it distributed for free, so people can leave reviews on it.
Is this
To
one
try
where
and
you
build
get
a
a chapter a day?
reviews up.
That
Yeah, you get usually like different staves, and the average is about 10 staves, so it takes 10 days to read it.
So, well, how long was this one then, Tim? Was it 10 days again, was it?
Yeah, I think this was 10.
No problem. And then, was it quite a straightforward book for you to read then, before we get into strengths?
In some ways, yeah.
Okay, right, we'll go on to strengths then, first of all.
So the way this starts off, it's easy to understand everyone's motives, even though they're not always the most sympathetic characters. So Leo's dead set on not becoming a father because he thinks that, like his own father, he'll lose his career as a writer if he becomes a father, and he'll have to give up his dreams and just get a normal job. So he's gone behind his wife's back and he's had the snip so that he can't have children, and just not told his wife, who's dead set on having children.
Well, that's nice of him, isn't it? He's a charmer, isn't he?
Yeah, so then she's gone and had a one-night stand with somebody and told him it's his child and he knows it can't be. But instead of turning around and saying, well, I've had the snip, I know it's not my child, he just goes along with it because she's working in a sort of job and keeping him at home all day while he chases his writing career. So he doesn't want to lose that, so he just decides to go along with it, but he doesn't really want a child distracting him. So he ends up running into Hannah, who's just had a baby, and the baby's died lying next to her in bed, and she runs out in panic. And then she decides she's going to tell him that he's killed the baby when he hit her, when the baby was already dead. So that starts off a big mess of things that happens throughout the year.
Right, so it's not a comedy, this book, then, London, really, is it?
Definitely not. It's just a guy making a bad choice after a bad choice, and then it completely spirals out of control.
Sounds like
So
it
instead of he's so intent on his writing career, not going tits up, to be honest.
Sounds
So
like
he says, well, my wife's had the baby and I don't want the baby, so I know what, you can nick that baby and keep quiet and not tell the police that I've killed yours.
My God. Right, okay. What else did you like about this book?
Well, I didn't like the choices he made, obviously, because you could
pretty bloody awful.
You could kind of understand. You could understand him at first, but then it went, and then you could understand the other characters, and you could think, oh, they're all as bad as each other. But then the choices he just continues to make makes him stand out from the others, and you think, well, actually, the others are a little bit sympathetic, and you're just out for yourself. And I hope you get what's coming to you. Which
Well,
I can't say whether he does or not, because that'll ruin it.
No, straight away. The trouble is, like, am I getting this right in thinking he dominates the narrative then, really, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's always sort of there in the background behind everyone, trying to control everything, and it just seems like nobody else can see what he's really like. He just comes across charming to everybody on the surface.
Yeah, I've seen TV series like that. I'm thinking of one that you watched. They've just brought back Netflix having a different cast, haven't they?
Dear John.
Dear John, sounds like that sort of thing almost, doesn't it? But did you find him, despite the fact he's pardon my English here, he's a complete utter shit, and that quite clearly was. Did you find him quite an engaging, interesting character? That's the crunch point with this.
A little bit. I mean,
even though you wanted him to fall flat in his face for the whole book.
Yeah, the stuff that happens, and you think, oh, well, surely you've got to come clean now and just say, just face the consequences. And it's like, no, he just keeps digging himself deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's like anything that the two main women in it have done wrong is just nothing compared to what he keeps doing.
Yeah, it sounds like a complete nut job, basically, isn't it? So that's why. So, yeah, as you were saying, man, and we're swearing here again, he's a complete cockhead, basically.
Yeah.
Blimey. Now, is there anything else strengths about this book then before we go into weaknesses?
No, I think that's it, really.
Right, okay. Is there anything you want to talk about weakness-wise?
The other thing, I suppose it's a bit over the top, but it is fiction, so
it does
complain too much.
It did sound a bit over the top, and that's for sure of it. So
it was entertaining.
Yeah, I think I got all that straight away. And what was the pacing of the book like then? Would it have been on pigeonholes? Because I know you said when you do those sort of things over 10 parts, the end of the part one's got to leave you in a cliffhanger to make you come back the following day, hasn't it? Did you find the cliffhangers worked well?
Yeah, it kept you reading. It got to maybe about 7 or 8 out of 10, and you thought, well, what can the next two contain? And then you get to the next two, and you just see him digging himself even deeper. And you thought, how deep could he actually dig himself before it all comes back up and just hits him in the face?
We will say no more, right? We'll say no more, right? So, now, is there anything else you want to comment about weaknesses-wise?
No, I'm ready to give my score.
I suspect you probably enjoyed this. If I had to guess, I'd probably say 8 out of 10. I'm
going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, not bad. Well done. Well done. What stopped you giving it 10 out of 10 then?
Just the over-the-top nature of it, even though it's fiction, but you can't really imagine it happening in real life. Bits of it might, but not the complete thing.
Yeah, no, I get you completely. So, no, fair play. 9 out of 10 is a good recommendation. Right, Amanda, that's it, isn't it? On part 5.
Yeah.
Hang around, everybody. We shall be right back. I'm on to Poet's Corner in a minute, Amanda, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to go all poetic.
Poetic and beautiful and talk about flowers.
Yeah,
not really.
Pretty little flowers.
Not really.
Right, I'll get rid of the flowers then. Cancel the flowers.
Okay. Right. See you all in a minute, guys.
Reading in bed.
Welcome to Reading in Bed with me, Amanda Steele.
And Andy N, episode 33. This is our finale this month. I'm on to Poet's Corner, Amanda, aren't we?
Yeah.
Now, the book in question is by a writer called Roz Weaver, and the collection is only a chapbook. This is called Smoke Pipe. I said not Peace Pipe. I said a pipe piece.
Yeah, yeah. I was just about to stand in for you then.
I got my teeth, couldn't mess my teeth up then. So, right. How did we meet Roz Weaver first of all, Amanda?
We first met her. Well, I can't talk now.
Pull your teeth out.
Online. Yeah. When she volunteered to be a submission reader on printed words back when it used to be an e-zine.
Yeah. Now, I'd added her as a friend on Facebook. I didn't know her at all. That has to be said. And we found the work she did for that magazine at the Times event. It was really well polished and really intelligent and constructive. And you then asked her basically to become reoccurring on the panel, didn't you, basically, to help out? Yeah,
unfortunately we ended, I think, after the second time she'd done it, which is obviously nothing to do with her.
No, it's just the way it goes. So But
Yeah.
and how did we meet her?
In person.
Yeah, go on.
We first met her in person. Well, the only time we met her in person actually
To date.
was at the That's What She Said night in Manchester.
Which is a feminist poetry night in Manchester. I met last November, was it?
It sounds about right.
Yeah. Now I remember this one at the time because there is video footage of Amanda online on this one, reading out 3 of her poems. And what happened, Amanda?
I read 3 poems. One about Kiefer Sutherland.
Yes, and the shed. And what happened with the audience reaction?
Seemed to like it.
Check the video out on YouTube. She got an ecstatic reaction on the set. As soon as you mentioned about having 10 minutes with Keith for the predominantly female audience, they went, woo, like that, didn't they? They literally lipped that up completely. So that's where they absolutely loved it. And it was a really good reaction, man. They got off that. Now, Roz came on, about 20 minutes later in you, was it?
Yeah. I think she was down as a reserve and so many people dropped out she got on, but she wasn't expecting to get on stage. Yeah,
now, by chance, this is the best bit about this. Right? She's gone on stage with 2 poems. And I videoed one of them, Amanda, didn't I? Just by chance, really. The Moment You Haven't Met Yet. And it's about a good 4-minute long piece. It's an absolutely belting poem. It's about running throughout the way she is as a person. And the collection that's just come out now is by a publisher, and ironically, it's actually Yellow Arrow Publishing, and this is in the actual collection. Which, for me, I'm so pleased to put this one in. Partly because the fact is because I videoed it, so I felt proud because we actually heard her read it, didn't we? And that was like, was it the first time she'd read that something, wasn't it?
I think she'd already written it a day or 2 before.
Yeah, we saw her on a Thursday night, and I'm sure she told me on my Spoken Label podcast she'd actually wrote it on the Tuesday. And I thought to myself, to go on stage, and that was a good 4.5-minute piece. That takes some welling to go and do that. It was a gripping piece, gripping, emotional, evocative piece on page and in person as well, definitely. So, right, Amanda, I know you've got some notes on this collection, haven't you?
I've got a little bit of a review because it's also got posted on Joycene as well.
Yeah.
So you can read more about it on there.
Yeah, tell us some highlights of that, Amanda.
So yeah, basically the same as you. Is like the bit that she wrote at the That's What She Said night was The Moment You Haven't Met Yet. That's a standout poem as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, for me, it's a great collection, really great collection. But it's that the collection, and this one I found it was a surprise in some ways, and I asked her about the Spoken Label. But the fact was that all the rest of the poems, and I think, am I right with this, Amanda? All the rest of the poems are mostly, if not all, apart from that one poem, they're all quite short, concise little poems, aren't they?
Yeah, I do like them, but I think that's the one that ties them all together.
Yeah, I do as well. Because the whole book itself is talking a lot about trauma. And you're getting poems like How Trauma Dressed at Daybreak, Home is Where the Spirit Goes, Eyes in the Weather Forecast, and then obviously like What I Owe to No One. A lot of it is tied in together with this beautiful poem, The Moment You Haven't Met Yet. And I liked it because it kind of reminded me of my own second book in the summer, where a lot of it was you told me if you agreed, but there was a lot of reflection to understand the past. You could then move forward, and that's what I thought a lot of the collection of me.
There's like an ongoing positive message throughout it, just like claiming your trauma and just saying, I've been through that, but I've come through it, and just trying to be positive and learning to love yourself and move forward rather than keep looking back all the time. Yeah,
completely agree. And it was the narrative itself. There was a kind of loose narrative in the book, and it didn't necessarily go A to Z, but definitely by the end of it, you've gone through a full life with the writer. And I thought you understood it by the end of it, and it's a powerful, powerful collection. That's for sure.
There's a poem as well called Communion. And I think the last line just says so much in a few words, where it says, we answer our own prayers. And I think that just says a lot. Like, instead of waiting for someone to come and save you or fix everything, it's like sometimes you just got to find the help and move forward and find ways to move forward yourself.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I think that's what Roz has done now. Obviously, I've not asked her in any spoken labour session a lot about the background of what he's poem, because when you read it, you can tell emotionally she's gone through a lot. But it's the relatability, I think, makes it really stand out in this book. What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, I think people will be to read this, and even though the poems are very personal, there's bits of it read or bit to relate to it, and they'll think, yeah, someone's been through something similar to me. I can kind of read between the lines, and I can see that. And she's moved on, and there might be hope for me to do the same thing.
Agreed. And that's all I've got to say with it. I've got no weaknesses about it. Perhaps I'd like in the full-length collection, but perhaps that's best for the future of us, because it's a debut collection, and sometimes less is more, I think. So we'll see. Have you got any weaknesses, Amanda?
No, I've got no weaknesses.
No. Pardon me. Nothing at all for me. So, right, well, should we get on to markings?
Yeah.
Ladies first.
I'm going to give it 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it has to be a 10 for me as well. One of the best debut collections I've read in ages. And I will look forward to definitely seeing the full-length collection of this young lady. It's definitely got it in her. And it's worth noting, if you ever see her performing, her voice is quite different on stage, because she does a lot, some of the more performance pieces, still got the same emotional, not baggage, emotional grips. There's two different sides to a young lady as a writer, and it shows in the book, and if you ever see her in person. So it's recommended to see her in person, definitely. Right, that's it, Amanda, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, so I've not even started any books for next month yet, so have you started anything, Amanda?
I've read books, but I don't know if I'm going to review them next month, or if I'm going to review something completely different.
Wait and say, who knows, like I said, so I might do an audio book next month. I have heard something recently, so it's tempting to do that, so watch your space. Right, guys and girls, we shall see you all in about a month's time, Amanda, won't we?
Yeah.
Say bye, Amanda.
Bye. I'm waving.
I'm blowing kisses at the screen. See you all
He
soon,
loves
guys.
you all.
I love everybody. I love everybody. Right, so stay sane, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Reading in bed. Reading in bed.